What are you doing in my kitchen?
I'm running out of ferric chloride in my gallery or my studio, so I'm going to try etching with battery. There's an article about how to etch with battery and salt water. So I got some distilled water, and I was about to mix it up. The article says you have to mix it up 2 or 3 days ahead of time so that the salt is all dissolved. It's lumpy.
A bit lumpy?
Mm-hmm.
How do you know when it's saturated?
It stops dissolving. Like you could still see there's some in the bottom.
Oh.
This was the first time I tried galvanic etching. So the next day I went to my shop and set up my etching method according to the Pasho article. I cut wires for the plates. I went to the aquarium store and bought an air stone and a little pump. I went to Radio Shack and bought a single cell battery holder, and I have some rechargeable D-cell batteries. The plate I made my usual way by a silicone transfer. I simply taped the copper wire to the back of the plate, so it made good contact and also protected the back of the plate from etching. So the whole plate was covered with tape, and I put that in the empty, that's a cut-off Listerine bottle. Then I got the other plate, which is called the cathode, got it ready. It's also a silicone transfer. I thought it would be neat to kind of use a reverse process. I thought maybe I could build up the copper on this plate while I took away copper from the other plate. This is the cathode. So again, I backed it up with tape, sealed it up as best I could, and I put it on the other side so it faces the cathode, or it faces the anode. The anode is the positive side, the plus side. I filled it up to the top with saturated salt solution. Took a look at it right away. The cathode, just from the presence of the salt, turned white. It was kind of neat. Now I'm ready to start, and I've already plugged in the battery, and I put in the air stone to make the bubbling action. And after 2 hours I took it out and looked, and it was etched, but just barely. I could see that it would take about probably 12 or 14 hours at this rate. So I ran out of time. I needed to get this plate etched for the etching test, or the printing test of press number 77 on its way to Australia. So I had to go back to what's left of my ferric chloride, and that probably etched a total of an hour with some stopping out. And that was it, the end of my first galvanic etching test.
Hi, I'm Bill Ritchie, and I'm here at the Seattle Halfwood Press Workshop. And today I'm going to demonstrate on test number 77 on its way to Australia. I usually have a videoist helping me. Linda Ritchie usually helps me, but today she's making an edition of pie babies. These are very tiny little pies. I wanted her to call them mini Halfwood pies, but somehow she didn't think that would work. Before I start inking and wiping the plate, I always like to show what comes with the press. Inside the press is a box, and inside the box the owner gets a certificate of authenticity. She gets a DVD of the DVD that you're watching, a set of new felts or blankets, as I sometimes call them, an Allen wrench for tightening the wheel on the press if it ever became loose in that unlikely event. She gets a new 22 gauge copper plate, and she gets the test plate that I'm going to be printing today, And when I'm finished, it'll be mounted onto this card, and the card explains artist trading cards in the form of etched plates. And this is the user's manual that goes with it. There's also a little book that comes with the press, and the little book gives its history and whatever unique features this press might have. Also has an artist stamp inside and another embossing. To get started printing, the first thing I do is I roll the press bed out almost to the end, and then I tighten it down all the way so that the rollers are touching on the plate. It's important that you keep the rollers parallel with each other and, parallel with the plate at all times. So once I've touched the bottom, then I can turn it back to make room for my felts. That takes about 12 half turns to get enough clearance for the next thing, which is the felts. The felts go into the press. The sizing catcher, the thinner of the two felts, goes on the bottom, and the other one is called the pusher felt or the roller felt, and it goes on the top next to the roller. Then it's started through, I turn it back down until it's very tight. Now, after years of practice, I know that it's just certain tightness that I can feel. But I've also included, when I build these, I've included what are called roller rulers on the side. And you can line up the numbers and letters with the edge of the block or the little center line. And that way you can tell if both sides are equal. There's a roller ruler on both sides so that you can look at the number and compare the two. So now the press is loaded, the blankets are folded back. I might mention too that underneath the press I have a kind of a gripper pad to keep it from sliding around when I'm using it. For color today I'm using Charbonnel inks. I'm using violet and cerulean blue. I'm going to mix the two together. And I'm also going to put in a drop of burnt plate oil. This is double aught burnt plate oil. A drop is all it takes to make the ink easier to spread around and easier to wipe. Now the ink is all nicely mixed, and if I have any left over, I'm going to wrap it up in a little piece of wax paper like this and send it along with everything else in the little box. The owner of the press also gets one of the two trial proofs that I'll be making today. To spread the ink around, I like to use a little piece of mat board that I cut down to a nice little spreading size. I have a little hot plate. I like to soften the ink a little more by warming the plate. That really makes it easy to wipe. But you have to be careful that you don't get it too hot. When it's all spread out, I switch over to tarlatan wiping. Tarlatan is like a cheesecloth, except it's very stiff and starchy. I keep dirty tarlatans and medium clean tarlatans and very clean tarlatans for the wiping, for this stage of the wiping process. Also, I keep the plate steady by putting it on a gripper pad. It's a household rubbery plastic material that you can buy to keep things from skidding around. And I'll probably warm the plate again because it gets pretty stiff when it's cold. And I'll go through a clean place on my tarlatan. When it gets to that point, I can switch over to the hand wipe. Or I might, in between then, use a telephone book page and use the paper wipe. If you use a hand wipe, you have to take off the glove, dry your hand, and put out a little talcum powder to dry off that part of your hand that you're going to use for the hand wipe. And now the plate is ready to clean the edges and print the first trial proof. Before I started today, I soaked some paper, 2 pieces of paper for the trial proofs. I soaked them for about an hour, and then I blotted them off, and I put them in a sandwich bag. I warmed the plate once more because it prints better if the plate is warm, when the ink is warm and soft. For the benefit of the video, I'll just turn the press around so that you can see the first trial proof. But before I pull that trial proof, one of my habits is to write down the moment number, the moment it was printed. This is the year 11/01, January, the 22nd, and the time by the 24-hour clock is 16:03. There's trial proof number 1. I'll pull another trial proof. One of these, the better one, will go to the owner, and I'll keep the other one for my records. Well, that concludes the test of Mini Halfwood Press number 77. As I said, I will pull another print, and I will send one of them to the owner, and I will keep one for myself. And then I'll mount the plate itself. I'll clean it up and mount it on a card, and that also goes to the owner. Well, I'm Bill Ritchie, and I thank you for watching.